have to say, I am so just shocked and absolutely delighted to find that I have 1,000 followers here on YouTube. That's entirely unexpected because I feel like I don't post nearly enough, and this actually motivates me to share more. And it just really warms my heart when it makes me so happy to see that the things that I'm saying are actually helping people, because sometimes I sit there and I say, oh, is what I'm doing making any difference at all? And how is me sharing my insight actually doing anything for people? But it actually is. So thank you. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. I would rather just share short videos for you rather than long drawn out ones. So today, what I want to talk about is your badass warrior, the one that lives inside yourself, the one that you actually don't recognize enough. But it's one reason I actually wrote my book, the Handbook for Badass Spiritual Warriors, is because I would like people to understand how badass you really are, even just embarking on a spiritual path. So to talk about acknowledging yourself. So for example, anybody that either is self-reflective or works on themselves to clear out the gunk that stands in the way of a higher power, greater consciousness, or even call it the greater good, that we have the stamina to do that is pretty freaking badass, So these are things that I really want to see people acknowledge more. Find your strength and realize that in your strength is, it's not masculine, it's not feminine, it is purely the human passion of the soul. And that is what is so important. I mean, I think sometimes in these conscious communities, people go a bit overboard with, if you're in your power and you're feeling strong and you're focused, you are masculine, and therefore you're giving up your feminine. And if you're receiving and then you're just, comfortable, then you're in your feminine. And it's like, come on, let's just get over that stuff. It just drives me nuts because it diverts us from our paths of simply being strong and intuitive. Sometimes over labeling really diverts us off our path. It really doesn't matter. The result is what matters. What matters is how we feel, whether we are empowered to go through life and be available to our intuition and be available to also focus. I mean, these things are the balance of the yin, the balance of the yang. Those things are truly all encompassing. And sometimes the more we pick them apart and analyze them, the more we just get off track. So anyway, let's get back on track with my conversation here, which is about, finding your inner badass. It's by acknowledging your badass. So what I actually did the other day, I realized, okay, one of my shortcomings has been, okay, I tend to second guess myself. Like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Was I wrong here? Was I right here? Is this what I really want? Is this not what I want? These are things that constantly go through my brain and what's so cool is I learned this about myself through doing this martial arts training I just started, which is ninjutsu, which is just phenomenal because it's an all-encompassing type of martial art. It is not just merely self-defense, but it's a fantastic path. But anyway, through that, I realized, there's this second-guessing piece. And what's that about? So to dig a layer deeper and say, okay, I need to make a list of all of my qualities that feel like are differentiating qualities. So that's a great tool. So for you to sit down and say, what are your differentiating qualities? So you make yourself a list and you say to yourself, for example, for me, that I know that my desire for innovation, and I have a lot of courage and I have insight and I made my list and resilient, those little pieces that you find in yourself that differentiate you, make your list. And also acknowledge yourself for those times when you've managed to take a look at yourself and go, okay, well, hey, you know what? That behavior's not working. That's disempowering. I'm going to change that. Like, Make a list of times you've actually been able to change your behaviors and you've been willing to look at yourself, because that is the most badass thing that anybody can do, is face yourself. So when I talk about badass spiritual warriors, I'm talking about the capacity to continue to clear the path in the world and continue to clear the path within. So anyway, that is what I wanted to share about today, because you clearly are a badass for even listening, and you deserve to acknowledge that about yourself. And because then we can continue to all move forward in our growth, and in our growth, we just feel better and we just radiate so much more positivity. So anyway, that's it for today. Until the next time.